Hey folks, welcome back to HeartGold vs. Crystal. We are here on Route 6, and we are heading up to Saffron City, where we will eventually encounter another Pokemon gym. But before we do that, we have a couple trainers to take care of. And a lot of these trainers actually have Hoenn and or Sinnoh Pokemon, which are cool and worth showing off. For instance, this little girl has a Cherubi. Cherubi is a first stage evolution grass Pokemon, which you could get by rubbing honey on certain trees in the Sinnoh region. And it is otherwise kind of not notable. Its evolution has a cool gimmick with the sunshine, but it's not the evolved form, so not worth discussing here. Anyway, next up we have a double battle, showing off one of the intended double battle team pair things that were introduced in the Hoenn games in order to show off the whole double battle gimmick. These are Plusle and Minun. You'll note that they look very similar to Pikachu. I'm sure that's entirely intentional. And I have a hate-hate relationship with these things. I hate them because they suck when I try to use them. And I also hate them because they're annoying when I try to fight them. Basically, they have the static ability, and that can paralyze you if you make direct contact, and that's not fun. These things just love to paralyze me, basically. Luckily, their overall stats kind of stink, and they can't evolve or anything, so they're just a cute face to look at while you punch it repeatedly. And look at using Swift. What a crass and vulgar show of stupidity. But of course these are level 41, so they do have Thunder. And apparently that did a decent amount of damage. But of course, I have an ace in the hole if I ever need to take care of electric types quickly, as you saw in the last episode. And let's see if I bring it out. I actually don't remember. Yep, we sure do. Sandra has Earthquake, and an effect of Earthquake in double battles that I don't know if I've addressed is that Earthquake will hit everything on the playing field, except the user. So that means that your ally will also be hurt, but since not Sandra, but Frida was going to faint this turn anyway, thanks to their attack, I can just use Earthquake and get super effective stab hits on both the opponents and one-shot them. Pretty nice. Anyway, there are a couple similar pairs introduced in the Hoenn games, like Volbeat and Illumise, and probably other ones that I can't remember, that were basically there to show off, hey, double battles are a thing. Anyway, our last trainer on this route also has a Hoenn Pokemon, one that is very near and dear to my heart. This is a Slakoth. Slakoth is silly. Its ability basically prevents it from doing anything on off turns that doesn't consist of using an item or switching out. When it evolves into Vigoroth, it loses that ability and actually gets a Vital Spirit, so it can't sleep. And then when it evolves further, it gains the ability back, which is the only way to balance out its disproportionately high physical attack stat. It's crafty when used in the right situation, but I don't think it's very popular, which is a darn shame. Anyway, now we are heading up here to Saffron City, and there are plenty of wonderful things in here for us to find. Saffron City is kind of the metropolitan hub of the region. It's right smack dab in the middle. Serves as a kind of transport to Vermilion, to Lavender, to Cerulean, and to Celadon, which is great. Anyway, this guy here, just like in the original Red, Blue, and Yellow, will give you the TM for Psychic. And Psychic, as the name implies, is a Psychic-type move that is, gosh darn it, one of the best, period. It's 90 base power, special, and just really, really good. And it's a heck of a lot better than Confusion on Frida. So that means that I finally have a really ace psychic move on Frida. Now we just need to evolve her. But now that's significantly better. And now we can move along. There are a couple other things of note here, but not all of them lead to anything. This here's the Sylph Corporation, which is near and dear to my heart. Not in this game, but in the original Red, Blue, Yellow. It was probably the most difficult dungeon of the original games. Now it's just an entry lobby with a fountain. And you get the upgrade, which is a hold item that, when traded when held by a Porygon, will allow the Porygon to evolve into a Porygon 2. And Porygon 2 can further be evolved through more trade evolution, but that's neither here nor there. This here is the Copycat Girl's house, and she has fun things to do. She's confusing, I don't really understand. But yeah, she has a couple dolls of Hoenn Pokemon now, which is a nice way to kind of include them. But she was also a character in the original games, Red, Blue, Yellow, etc. And the conversations with her are confusing because you're not sure whether she's the one speaking or you're the one speaking. I think it's her, because you're like a silent protagonist for the rest of the game, but haven't the foggiest. And then, as you can see here, we actually have 2 gyms. One is currently in operation. One is just kind of a fighting dojo that has been since abandoned by most of its proteges. Now it's in Johto. Nothing here for us. Kinda sad. But anyway, let's take on the gym after this commercial break. Alrighty, the Saffron Gym. Now, this is probably one of the most confusing gym puzzles in the series, because it is a it's a teleportation gimmick. Basically, the gym is divided into 9 squares. Well, they're probably rectangles. I haven't counted the spaces. That you navigate by going to various teleportation panels here. And eventually, you will use process of elimination and logic and whatnot to find your way over to the middle square, which houses the gym leader. And it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Apparently, people tell me that this is the same pattern as the original games. Red, Blue, Yellow, etc. Had the same warp layout. I cannot verify the truth of that. But it certainly hasn't helped me in playing these games for over a decade, so whatever. Anyway, the gym leader here is Sabrina. Sabrina is a psychic-type gym leader. And that means Everett will probably have a field day. Even more than he usually does. Yeah, this guy can't really do much. So my overall strategy here is kind of just do what I do with Everett all the time. Confuse the opponent, use moves, and heal when I'm low. It's not going to be the most thrilling, unfortunately, battle. You might be confused why I'm using Iron Tail. And you have good reason to be confused because I, having recorded this about a month ago, also do not remember why I'm using Iron Tail. That's why I'm using Iron Tail. I was hoping for Iron Tail to get a physical defense drop on the opponent, and then I can use Return to greater effect. Why I don't just use Dark Pulse, get the super effective, probably for PP conservation, if I had to guess. But overall moral of the story here is that Everett doesn't need to worry about what the opponent does to him. Because basically he can do whatever the heck he wants, and waste all the time in the world, and the opponent just won't be able to do anything. But for the sake of variety, let's bring in some other players and hope to get a little more of an interesting fight. Bree here, as you know, has Shadow Ball, which is a ghost-type move, super effective against psychic types such as Alakazam. And I don't expect it to end all that well. Look at that level difference. Like, kind of the difference between what happened at Lieutenant Surge's gym and what happens here is that although I do have a Pokemon that simply cannot be harmed by the opponent's stab moves, Everett isn't exactly the offensive powerhouse that Sadra is, so that you can't really use Swords Dance and use Earthquake. You just have to kind of do this slowly. And there's also a much, much greater level disparity, as you might have seen. Lieutenant Surge's strongest Pokemon was like level 47 or something. And here we got a level 55 to deal with. The level curve around Kanto is a little weird. I took the time to look at all the gym leaders and their relative levels, and there is a curve, but it's not a curve that anyone playing the game would logically take. Because I think the next strongest Pokemon gym leader to Lieutenant Surge is the gym leader in Fuchsia. And to get there, you would have to go through Saffron and either Celadon or Lavender. So that's bypassing 1 or 2 Pokemon gyms just for the sake of having a proper level curve. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If Sabrina were like ridiculously higher leveled, you might be tempted to try it, see that she's over-leveled, and think, okay, I'll come back later when I'm stronger. But this is still a reasonable fight, so there's no real temptation to do that. I think any sort of level curve here, or guide through Kanto, is more or less implied or completely at the player's whim, because this is a very non-linear section of the game. Anyway, as you can see, the whole Earthquake thing didn't work out quite so well there. I'm really trying to pull out all the different possibilities that aren't Everett, because just seeing Everett destroy everything would be less fun for you guys. But clearly Everett's the best way to do this, so I might as well just do things the quick way, slightly quicker way, and use Everett. There we go. Let's just unleash some Dark Pulses. You can see Sabrina's using some Light Screens and Reflects. Those will temporarily increase the defense or special defense of her team. It's just the thing that'll slow you down. Other than Alakazam, I don't think... Actually, no. Espeon and Alakazam are both pretty good offensively, Mr. Mime less so. So if you are, for some reason, trying to take them down through attrition, which you shouldn't because they're fragile, I guess it could be annoying. But other than that, it might just help them avoid a one-hit KO. Speaking of avoiding KOs, Full Restore. Isn't that wonderful? But if you've watched for this long, you are probably used to seeing Everett do this kind of thing, so I'm just gonna let you watch it for just a while longer. Yes, I like to see you suffer. You must suffer the same fate that I did. Okay, it wasn't that bad. But anyway, that takes care of the HeartGold fight, and we'll check out the Crystal fight after this commercial break. Alrighty, Crystal fight. Now, as you've probably come to expect, the Crystal fight is very similar, but with lower levels. Like with that level 46 Espeon, significantly lower. But again, like the HeartGold fight, I'm gonna try to avoid using Everett too much, just for the sake of variety and interest. It probably won't work, but you know, it's worth a shot. Klaus, of course, too slow and too fragile to actually get an attack in, and Everett comes in already. Alright, look, this is close enough to a mirror match that I can go with it, alright? It's like thematically appropriate to have an Umbreon fighting an Espeon. Can we justify it that way? I won't be able to justify the later matchups that way, but this works. Come on, guys, come on. Anyway, as you can tell by the increased damage here, the level difference here is lower than before. So even though it is lower level than he was in HeartGold, we're actually KOing things, I wouldn't say significantly faster, but notably faster. And Espeon goes down without too much fuss. If it got that sand attack in, it probably could have been horrible terrible, but it didn't happen. Anyway, Mean Look, I considered it, but not for very long. Mean Look basically allows you to lock in the opponent so it can't switch out. And generally it's more useful in competitive play where people actually switch out, because CPUs generally don't do that. I thought it might be useful with Confuse Ray. Nah. Anyway, now we have an Alakazam, and let's try the Sandra strategy once again. Not expecting a whole lot of success, but Alakazam is a fairly fragile Pokemon. So Sandra. The thing about Alakazam is that it's never been defensively great intentionally. In the first generation, when the special stat was applied to both special attack and special defense, it had good special defense, but I'll cover that in another playthrough. Anyway, let's, speaking of special defense, thank you, Bree, for doing that. Let's give Metronome a try, and see if we can get, like, I don't know, a Dark Pulse off of Bree, or an Aeroblast, or something really cool. I don't know. A new way to take care of Psychic types. Yeah, no, that's not happening. Unfortunately, the thing about Metronome, it's so unreliable. So many cool things can happen when you use Metronome, but it's just not a reliable way to do things. If you are relying on Metronome, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably still at Bugsy, honestly. I don't think you would have gotten this far. That'd be a hell of a gimmick playthrough, just the people who do Wi-Fi matches where all the Pokemon know nothing but Metronome. Why not do a gimmick playthrough of an entire game with a Pokemon like that? Because it would be boring and terrible. And don't do it, kids. Just don't do it. Anyway, I am insistent on getting, like, something good out of this Metronome. So I'm gonna keep healing Bree. Ooh, that's good. So Spite reduces the PP of the move that the opponent most recently used. And since Psychic is a relatively low PP... Oh, thanks. Cool. That was a neat coincidence. Since Psychic has relatively low PP, that means that it's a good way of getting rid of those last few. Anyway, there's Stun Spore. Alakazam isn't the fastest thing in the world, but it's always appreciated. And we're just gonna keep using random moves against him, basically. You can see that the reflect / light screen strategy is still in effect here. I assume it's an actual strategy and not moves put there to fill up move slots, because, I don't know, it seems like something she likes to do, and Mr. Mime likes to create walls, but this is an Alakazam, so I don't know. Anyway, clearly, if you haven't gotten the idea by now, this isn't going anywhere. But, there's Perish Song. Perish Song is actually one of the few times you might use Mean Look to tie it into what we were doing a few minutes ago. Basically, any Pokemon that hears the Perish Song will faint in 3 turns unless it switches out. So a lot of people, including the NPCs and bosses, will use Mean Look on a Pokemon, on an opponent, and then use Pair Song, and then they will switch out on the last turn while the opponent dies, basically. It's a neat strategy, but it's not exactly thrilling. Anyway, that's basically what I'm doing here. Let's switch out to somebody else. And the big question is, will the AI be smart enough to switch out that Alakazam? Yes, it will. Crafty bugger. So now we have paralyzed Alakazam on the sidelines there, which won't be too troubling. But now we gotta get rid of this Mr. Mime. Webster can't really do that, unfortunately. Good lord, Webster, you're so underleveled. It's tragic. We'll have to fix that. Anyway, let's try Frida. Frida evolved in this version, as you know, and being part Psychic type will resist, not be immune to, but will resist all the Psychic moves that the opponent has. And that means that they shouldn't do a whole lot of damage, especially since Frida does have decent defenses, last I checked, which was a while ago, so I am probably misremembering. But anyway, let's go for the patented Frida whittling strategy. I forgot the name we came up with that. The Frida effect, something like that. But stacking poison with Leech Seed, very nice thing. And eventually this thing's gonna go down. It's only a matter of time. And there's some nice luck right there. Lets me get in one more Psychic before I either allow Frida to perish or to heal. And that's, I don't know, one less turn that I have to stall it out. So yes, I fully admit this is not a climactic battle by any means. Really, the best thing you can do if you want to reliably beat Sabrina is to bring a Dark type. And admittedly, there aren't a whole lot of Dark types to choose from, but 2 new Dark types actually became available when you visited Kanto, or rather, when you arrived in Kanto mainland proper. They're both only available at night. They are Houndour and Murkrow. And aside from those two, I think Umbreon might be your only bet in the original games. But it's not too problematic. And you can, of course, whittle them down, as I do, every time. So that's Mr. Mime down, and now all we have to do is take care of that severely crippled Alakazam. And gosh darn it, Bree's gonna do it. I refuse to allow Everett to whittle down another opponent that other Pokemon could easily take care of, even if it would overall take less time to do it the boring way. And that's Sabrina. Sabrina is, not the worst gym leader in the world. Honestly, I would say there's one difficult gym leader in Kanto, and it's not Sabrina. And so we have our second Kanto gym badge, the Marsh Badge. Why is it called the Marsh Badge? Not a clue. And we also received the TM for Skill Swap, I believe. Yes, sir. Never seen Sabrina use it, but it allows you to switch a Pokemon's inherent ability with either opponent or an ally if you're in a double battle. And that is actually kind of useful for Pokemon like Slakoth. And with that book ending, I will see you guys next time for our next gym.